You are about to discover 3 massive mistakes even smart women make that keep them overstressed, unhappy, and unhealthy. But more importantly, you're going to learn how to avoid these mistakes so that you can start to live the life you want with grace and ease. My name is Cheryl Stanton, and this is the second in a series of 4 videos that are designed to help you create the life that you want to live. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on the 3rd and 2nd biggest mistakes even smart women make. You're going to find out what they are in just a moment. I'm also going to share with you some easy to implement practical suggestions that you can put in place right away to avoid these mistakes and start living your life with grace and ease. So get your pen ready right now because you're going to want to write this information down. The 3rd biggest mistake even smart women make that keeps them overstressed is what I call the sponge syndrome. Go ahead, write that down. The sponge syndrome. There was a time not so long ago when I suffered from this syndrome big time. So what is the sponge syndrome? The sponge syndrome is where you take on the responsibility of solving everyone else's problems. I see this most commonly in mothers in their relationship with their children, but it also applies to their relationship with their husbands, their parents, or anyone else in their environment, work, community, church, etc. I remember when I was called to be the president of the women's organization in our church, I cried for 2 whole days. I was barely surviving with what I had to do at home, and suddenly I was responsible for the health, welfare, and happiness of another 100 women and their families. My response was because I was suffering from the sponge syndrome and didn't know it. So why is the sponge syndrome a bad thing? Well, first of all, it doesn't work. It took me a long time to learn that I couldn't fix anybody. For myself, it totally exhausted me. I had no time or energy to do what I wanted to do. Nobody cared about my needs, including me. My needs didn't matter. I was just there to serve others. Not only that, they didn't want me to fix them. What I thought of as helping, they thought of as interfering. They also interpreted my efforts as a sign that I didn't think that they were capable. In many cases, I made them dependent on me. They didn't have to worry about whatever it was because I was doing the worrying and problem solving for them. So really, I was enabling their weakness. I kept them weak instead of allowing them to grow stronger by learning for themselves. I have a picture of a mother possum which I love. It shows 11 babies hanging on her, and she's just trudging along. And I identified totally with that mother possum because that was me and my life. Do you identify with this description? It's extremely common. It's in our nature as women to be loving and caring and to serve. And it's also very rewarding to love and care for those you love. The problem comes when we serve too much and to the detriment of our own health, happiness, and fulfillment. So what do you do if you have the sponge syndrome? The first thing is to recognize that the only person you can fix is yourself. Not only can you not fix someone else, it is not your job or your right. You can help if they're willing to let you, but each person has to learn from their own experiences. This is the only way that they can grow. I tell people who have the sponge syndrome that the very best thing they can do for someone else is to heal themselves. When you are emotionally healthier yourself, you will interact with others in a healthier way. That will then allow them to start healing as well. So in this context, focusing on your own needs could be the least selfish thing you ever do. So why do you have the sponge syndrome? I'll be answering that in the last video, so make sure you watch it when it's released. On this video, I'm also going to identify the 2nd biggest mistake even smart women make that keep them overstressed, unhappy, and unhealthy. So write this down. They give away their power. When we give our power away to others, that means that we lose control. Or another way of saying this is that someone or something else is controlling you. How does that make you feel? This is also something I did big time. We give our power away in several ways, and one is that we play the blame game. We blame everyone and everything else for our problems. We blame our parents, our spouse, the kids, the school, the circumstances, the government. We blame God. The problem with blaming others is that they have to get better before our life improves. And how likely is that to happen? We don't realize that although they may have been influential in causing a problem in our lives, we are the only ones who can resolve it. But as long as we keep blaming them, we're powerless. We're victims. The only way we can change anything is to take back our power and recognize that it is up to us to change something that we don't like in our lives. Another way that we give our power away is by not living in the now. We spend our time dreaming about someday I'll and how wonderful life will be someday. I used to do this all the time. Someday when my husband has a job, someday when my kids are all in school, someday when my kids are all out of school, someday when my kids move out of home, someday when they move out of home for good. Always someday I'll. Or we may spend our time in memory lane, thinking about the good old days. But it's usually men who do that. More often, women replay old negative movies, old reruns of bad things that have happened in the past. Have you ever carried on an argument in your mind that you had 10, 20, 30 years ago? Only this time you're saying the things that you wished you'd said then? What a total waste of time and energy. As the poem says, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. All we have is today. That's why it's called the present. Now is all the time we have. If we don't make the best of now, we will never have what we want tomorrow. Now, this moment, is the only time we have any power over. So how can we use this to improve our lives? We just focus on this moment. For this moment, I can use my power. I can choose to be in control. For this moment, I will be confident. For this moment, I will not, and you fill in the blank. For this moment, I will, you fill in the blank. Then you live the next moment. And really all life is a series of moments. And the moments make up your today, and then your tomorrow, and the rest of your life. And how you live your moments will determine what your future is. You have total control over this moment. So why do you give away your power? I will answer that in the last video as well. So make sure you watch your email for when it's released. So let's do a quick review. The third massive mistake that even smart women make is that they have the sponge syndrome, which means that they take on the responsibility of trying to fix other people's problems. Not only is it impossible to do, it exhausts you and it does them a great disservice. The second biggest mistake is that they give away their power, which means they are controlled by someone else, or in other words, they're a slave. This is done in two ways. One, by playing the blame game, where everyone and everything else is blamed for their problems. But they are the only ones who can do anything to fix it. As long as their attention is on other people, they are a victim and helpless to change. The second way they give away their power is by not living in the now. They either spend their time dreaming of someday in the future when life will be perfect, or they remember and dwell on the past. They waste the only time they have any power over, which is right now, this moment. In this video, I've shared the third and second biggest mistakes that even smart women make that keep them overstressed, unhappy, and unhealthy. I've also given some suggestions about what you can do right now to start correcting those mistakes. I encourage you to take that information and start using it right away. And remember, if you signed up for this email video series, watch your email inbox in the next few days because you're going to get the next video in the series. If you came across this video through a friend or through Facebook or some other means, then it's really important that you do this. So listen carefully. Right below this video, you're going to see that there's a place to put your first name and your email address in. So go ahead and do this as soon as this video finishes. Put your first name and email address in the box below. That will ensure that you get access to the rest of the videos in this series. It will also ensure that you get the information and strategies you need to get rid of what you don't want in your life and start freeing yourself to attracting into your life what you do want. In that next video, I'll be talking about the #1 biggest, most common, and most destructive mistake that even smart women make. That is keeping them overstressed, unhappy, and unhealthy. I'm also going to give you more valuable strategies to avoid that big mistake so that you can start reducing your stress, increase your happiness, and improve your health. So until then, I wish you all the health and happiness you can handle.